Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the DrumQuig podcast, episode 14. And I've got a very special guest with me today. And what's really great about this is that his band just announced an album release. Like, the news came out today. So, what better day that we've had this plan for months at this point? He's been in BoneCrown, My Children, My Bride. We got Emeralds we're going to talk about. But right now, the band to talk about is definitely going to be Impending Doom. Andrew Holzbaur, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad. I know I missed like at least a few bands, but we're gonna get there. and,
No worries.
and honestly, man, just thank you so much for being on the show. I know, I mentioned My Children, My Bride because that's how we met. I know you were touring with them at the time, and then I remember seeing you in Impending Doom not long after that. So, kind of just talk about how you got from there to where you are now, man. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a close circle of friends between both those bands with me for quite a long time, and that's really just pretty much how it came to fruition. But yeah, I mean, it starts back with Manny from Impending Doom. We met in the early 2010 ish era, 2000 around there, and yeah, he ended up linking up because he was splitting from Doom for a while, and so we started a band together um, called The Devastated, and we ran with that for a couple of years. That unfortunately, yeah, just kind of fell apart, and he went back to Impending Doom. The My Children, My Bride thing came about because Manny was roommates with Robert, guitar player, and that's how I met him. And yeah, we were all buddies hanging out in Los Angeles. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And yeah, when they took, MCMB had a break for quite a while, and then they decided to, try to get back out there and do things and had some really cool opportunities. One of the huge ones being Warp Tour. And so, yeah, it was, hey, let's get back out there. Robert asked me about playing with them, and I was like, yeah, totally. I didn't have anything going on at the moment. Uh, so that all just fell into place for that. And then MCMB did their thing for a little bit, and then it kind of slowed back down, and then the time came right where Impending Doom was just on the table for me, and that's where we're at now. So
Dude, and I mean that's a wild just circular motion of everything you just said. Like, not to use a circle the sky reference, but like,
right.
I mean that's so crazy, and I think it was one of the wildest things I noticed is that when I got to see MCMB in 2017, 2018, around that time, got you guys to sign everything, and then I got the Impending Doom autographed vinyls, and I'm like, hey, Andrew's on both of these. Like, that's so cool to see that from two different bands, in the same circle. So, really,
Right.
man, you've been drumming for a long time. I've seen it. We've talked about it before. What got you started, and how did you find metal? Because that's always kind of the thing. A lot of guys start off in jazz or something else, and metal just finds them more so
Yeah.
than them finding it. So, how did you get to that point of being where you are now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started really with my dad was a musician. He was kind of an all around. Primarily was more of a singer vocalist, but he messed around with everything. And so that was my real influence as a child. And he had a drum set in the garage. It wasn't set up at the time, but you know, I always saw pieces of it there. And so eventually, I just got the spark to um, excuse me, to you know, want to do it, to want to try to do it. And it started with me pulling out one drum. I think it was a tom. I had a tom, and I'm just messing with this tom. And then it was like, okay, I want another drum. Pulled another one out, and then eventually it was like, set up the whole kit. It was an old school Gretsch kit, and I went with it. Um, became totally addicted to it, and next thing you know, I started, playing in jazz band in school, and then then I got my first kit. But then, yeah, one of my best friends, that I grew up with, he was getting into playing guitar. So essentially, we kind of hooked up, and then and we started doing like basically like grunge,
Hmm.
Nirvana. We were just big into that. But then, of course, I found Metallica, and then I found, Pantera and Sepultura, Fear Factory, Machine Head. Those were kind of my
Mm.
real big segues into metal, uh, and then then I met another guy, and then my friend who was playing guitar. He really kind of was like really wanting to kind of stay in the grunge uh, vibe. But then I met this other guy in through halfway through middle school who was just full on metal, like just loved Metallica, loved Pantera. He was a really good guitar player, and he really wanted to play with me, and I really wanted to play with him, and so we made it happen, and that like my first band started, which was called Hostility, and that's when I was in basically middle school, and
Wow.
then my other friend who was grunge player, he started getting into metal, and he hooked up with us, and we needed a bass player, so he basically started playing bass, and then one of my other close friends, from school as well too, saw what we were doing and was into it, so he was like, well, yeah, I mean, I want to be the vocalist, and that's how that my first metal band started. And then really from there it just kind of kept taking shape. We did it for quite a long time, all through high school, and several after high school. But then then I branched off and joined this band Oblige from down in Riverside, California. That really got me into like my first like real serious touring. Had a label, a booking agent, all that whole thing. It really just started going out there, like touring hard. And then, then the Oblige turned into the Devastated, had a little bit of a revamp, signed a new deal with Century Media. Manny had quit Impending Doom, came over and hooked up with us, and then that took off from there. Um, you want me to just keep
Yeah,
telling?
I was.
Yeah,
Listen, man,
yeah,
I like it when you guys talk more than me. Let's.
yeah. From there, yeah, then from there, like I said, the Devastated, unfortunately just kind of fizzled out, and so then then it was like, okay, well, at that point I was so like in this go mode that I was like, well, what's next? Tried to kind of put a couple feelers out, and then a good friend of mine who was actually just gotten the gig. His name's Austin Diamond. He just got the gig with Chimera, and so he asked me if I wanted to come and drum tech for the band. So next thing you know, I was out teching for Chimera. So it was quite a different jump, but also had some crazy experiences that I hadn't experienced, levels and stuff that I hadn't experienced yet. Rolling with that, obviously, I'm meeting other people from other bands. They're you know networking and stuff. And then and then eventually got to the point where I hooked up with Ocean and started playing with them. And then that rolled for several years, and then parted ways with those guys. It's all good, and then things were kind of just like I had a couple little projects I was working on at home, but it's still kind of hey, what's next? And then the MCMB thing came up. The impending doom thing though was kind of, I had done some fill-in stuff for them in between some of these things too. So that there was always kind of like that had always kind of been there. And like I said, the relationship with those guys, a lot of these bands, they all emerged from the Inland Empire. And so I got to know a lot of these guys when I joined this band Oblige back in 2007. So the Susan guys and like, stuff like that. So it was all really like just this community that I just was already getting to know people, and, building relationships with them just on that level. So yeah, and yeah, basically from there, uh, just kept going. Now we're here with Impending Doom. I started BoneCrown about 2.5 years ago, which before that was called. It was under a different name. It was called Anadonia, and
Hmm.
that kind of started around 2018. So it's essentially similar members in a way. Um, we just got like a new vocalist, stuff like that. Now we got a new guitar player. Changed the name, but yeah, we're still really passionate with that. Yeah, this recent thing that I just dropped, Emerald,
Yes.
is yeah. It's basically that's pretty big of a surprise here. It's actually been something that's been working on for quite a while. The story behind that is I so one of my close friends, Bill Waters, he runs a studio in Sacramento. I do basically all the recording and blabbing. Him and another friend of his were uh, Anthony Garrison were basically during COVID just bored and
Hmm.
wanting to come up and do something different. And so they were working on some stuff. They're like, hey, you wanna jam? Like we're like trying to come up with this like Deftone style project. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Nothing else to do right now. Everybody's locked down, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started rolling with that. Um, Basically, they had some demos. I, rewrote the drums. Next thing you know, we were recording it. We recorded those 5 songs in October 2020.
Oh
Right.
my God.
So those songs have been done since October 2020, and we really just weren't quite sure. Like, okay, well, like, is this going to be instrumental? It probably should have some vocals on it. I think that would step it up a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest with you, up until the end of last year, um, we were kind of silently looking for, not silently, but like on the low, looking for, excuse me, somebody to do vocals over it, and it just didn't really pan out. So then eventually there was some spark interest, like between me and Phil, that was like, oh, maybe we should try it together or something. Next thing you know, it was just like I was trying it, and then it was working, and then it was like a couple more of the songs, and then next thing you know, it was like, okay, like all the songs, like might as well do it. I've already done, 4, and then boom, and then yeah, and so yeah, and then I was like, all right, awesome, let's finally get this out there. So yeah, it's definitely an exciting project to get out. Not quite sure, just to be transparent, really, if it's going to be per se something that's going to be touring or anything like that quite yet. Some of these guys are a little bit more, they've got families and stuff like that, so we're
Mhm.
not quite sure, but we're definitely continuing to write material and put that out. We'll just kind of really see where it goes from there. I mean, obviously, I'm busy with Pending Doom, and BoneCrown's got a lot of stuff going on as well. We're writing
Yeah.
records. We've been doing a lot of regional shows around the West Coast, and next year we're looking to branch out and start doing 4 days out of state here, maybe 5 days out of state there. We're trying to be smart about it. We really don't want to like go out. I mean, from all my experience, I want to make sure that I don't run these guys or anybody's finances to the ground.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, just trying to be realistic with it. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely excited about just really taking the next step. And like I said, BoneCrown is working on a new album too. But yeah. Impending Doom is working on a full length, and it's going to be massive. Just
I wouldn't expect anything less.
yeah, nobody's going to be let down. That's for sure. So everybody's taste buds will be completely satisfied. So
And I know you guys just had that Florida run with Impending Doom. Like, how did those shows go? I know you were super excited to get over here and get the weather. Uh,
Yeah. Um, no, yeah, no. They were like some of the best Florida shows I've ever done personally, and it sounds like it was. Speak for the other guys as well too. They were just uh, seriously just so like supporting and like just they were just awesome. Front to back, really. Like I mean, we were sold out of merch by the second night, so we didn't even have anything to sell by the third night.
oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yeah, you know awesome for us because it's like these type of things where we go out and do this, it's just kind of an estimate of like, okay, how much merch do we bring. Obviously the goal is to sell it all, but I mean, there's plenty of people that were like, okay, well, we got stuff online, so don't worry, we'll
Yeah.
restock on this stuff. But yeah, the shows were off the chain, that's for sure. Had a great time. uh would have been, obviously we knew we were going down and during hurricane weather season, so that obviously we were expecting that it was wet, and it was, but I mean, that's down there.
Yeah.
They've been going down there for 20 years now, and that's it down there. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, the shows were so sick. So
I hate that you brought that up because I wasn't going to bring it up, but last year, Demon Hunter and Pending Doom, you guys had the tour coming through Florida, and then, Helene and everything hits, and it crushed me because I was so excited because the first time I was supposed to see Demon Hunter, we were in Jacksonville, we were at Murray Hill, and Hurricane Deborah hit and started flooding one of our friends' house. So we literally left the show before Demon Hunter played. And then first time in over a decade that it gets
wow.
rescheduled. And then now I see there's not a Tampa date on this one. So I'm a little upset. Uh,
Yeah,
just because I was so excited for every single part of that. I even have tickets made, and I know I think I showed those to you. That I
yeah,
was going to have you guys sign, and so I'm hoping maybe somebody will add a Florida day. But these hurricanes, man, you don't know what to do, and you had to do what was safe, and I understand that it still sucked,
yeah.
but
It's tricky. Especially for that thing. Tampa though last year, it was like, well, the hurricane's not even going to hit until like a day after the Tampa show, so it's like, come play it and then leave. But I mean, obviously, like, it wasn't that easy. There was just really like logistics of us getting down there and then getting back out was just, we couldn't risk it. It
no,
was just one of the things. Yeah, I remember we were all sitting there in Pensacola, the night before, just like, dang, really? Like, all
like go
right.
that way, go that way, like
But I mean, thankfully it didn't happen this time, so that was good because obviously, this was like a more stretch of stuff. But yeah, nonetheless, we were bummed. We were like, dang, and I know a lot of people were bummed as well too. But there'll be a day again, where we cruise through Tampa and get rowdy. So
I I like it. I'm holding you to that, but I know you don't have full control over it, but still, you're. I feel like it's gonna be a weird comparison. You're like the Mike Portnoy of heavier metal. Like you're doing so many projects, you're branching out, and you answered my question about how you ended up singing because I saw that come out. I saw the Emerald stuff come out, and I went, "It looks like he sing." And I just like stopped and stared at the video for a while and watched it, and I was
yeah,
like, "This is amazing." I can't believe you guys have been sitting on that for 5 years, basically. Like,
I know. I mean, it was, yeah. I showed a lot of people before it came out just because I was like, hey, like, I just want to let you know this is coming out. I mean, the algorithm is just so crazy and unpredictable now that it's just like, when I put stuff out, sometimes, some people that I have some of my like good friends, like they just won't catch it because of whatever.
yeah,
So I was definitely circulating it around like that. And yeah, it was just really exciting. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Deftones, so are these other guys, and so it was really cool to like, because at first it was kind of the music was definitely going a little bit more of a technical direction.
Hmm.
But like I was just kind of like, okay, like it's definitely got the Deftones vibes. So we need to like hone that in, and so I was just kind of like channeling like my inner Abe and just went for that. And then when it came time for the vocals, I was like, put all the lyrics basically on like plane or two plane rides last year. One to Uprise Fest, and then another one to I don't know. There were like two different East Coast trips that I was just like on the plane, like trying to like ideas or whatever lyrics, just random, ideas, and then like patterns. And then my friend Phil is obviously he's an amazing engineer, and he's a really good producer. He's got a lot of good ideas, and so yeah, so it was cool. It was cool to like work that out and kind of you know figure like just really just go at it, just like jump off, like I'm like, hey, I'm not getting any younger. Like I might as well just try this and see. I'm like, my whole thing was, I was like, I don't want to like auto tune my voice. I've never really done this, but it was like, okay, well, we'll work with like what you've got, and we'll just kind of like layer your voice for it, which is basically, you know, how somebody does a record for the most part. It's not just one take. Um, yeah, just went for it. It's fun.
And I think that was, I mean, honestly, like I said, it's easy for me to sit here and say like it's good, but it's good. Like it's not what I expected, and I think that was the best part is that you
Yeah,
see a lot of people do side projects, and you're like, okay, this what's different about this band that's not this? And I feel like each level of every band you have has a different level of intensity, and
sure.
everyone has been getting higher and higher, and then this one shifted in the
Yeah,
best way possible. Where
yeah.
it's like you're taking it in a new direction, but still staying. I think Derek Roddy said it in the last episode. You're staying honest, like you're staying honest to who you are and what you are passionate about, and I think that's really important in this aspect.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's just me. Like I've had a lot of trial and error through my life of being a musician, and I mean, I've been at for the last 7 8 years in my life where and musician, my musicianship is like 100% honest to me first and foremost. It's like, I mean, yeah, I want people to enjoy what they hear from me and stuff like that. But I mean, I have to find how everybody's different with it. So I get it. Some people are just like, I'm just gonna write, have put music out that people want to hear.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to necessarily satisfy me. I'm sorry, but for me, I have to love it first and foremost, um, for it to be, a part of my musicianship and my character.
Yeah,
So
and I think that shows in the music because you have bands that just put things out, and it's like one album to the next will just sound the same, and you're like, what did you do? Like what changed? And obviously you
yeah,
brought up Metallica. Metallica's big shift from Injustice to All to the Black Album, like completely different shift, and people you're selling out. They wrote stuff that they loved,
mhm,
and then when they did the collabs with everybody, the anniversary for the Black Album, Miley Cyrus, Elton John. Elton John said "Nothing Else Matters" is one of the most beautiful things he's ever heard written, and James
yeah,
is sitting there crying, and I was like, that's metal. Like that is you've written
yeah,
something that you weren't sure how it was going to be, but you loved it and you put it out there.
yeah,
And I
totally.
and I feel like yeah, we got to see Metallica just a couple months ago with Pantera, so that was really cool. And Charlie
Yeah,
has Dimebag and Vinny on the drum, the bass drum heads, and I thought that was such a cool tribute. And getting to see Charlie, I've never got to see Anthrax, but I got to see Charlie play, so I was pretty excited about that.
yeah. Did you ever? Did you ever by chance see Pantera in the Dimebag era?
I wish, man. I always liked Pantera, but it just never connected. Like I've seen Metallica twice in my life, and it's still the only band, with the exception of the last two albums, that I can name every album in order, what year it came out. Like it's the only band I can do that with for some reason. It's just stuck in my head.
Yeah,
And then it's like getting into that scene of Megadeth and Pantera, it just the timing never worked out. It was the money, it was the location, it was just something would always come up, and it kills me because I remember being in high school when Dimebag got shot, and I remember I feel like it was just yesterday that Vinny left. Like it just crushing,
yeah, yeah.
and
It's crazy, you know. I mean, yes, there's definitely. I mean, some of the closest people I've met in the music industry the last 10 years, it's like they got to see that. Uh, yeah, I mean, just it was it's crazy because it really just tells you, how quick that got cut short. Like it's
yeah.
like, dang, like really like that. Like there's so many people I know that are like so diehard Pantera, and never they just didn't get to see that. It was like I know people that have seen Damage Plan and Super Joint Ritual and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, man, it was like I feel like I look back at that, and feel like, all right, well that was just a transitional thing of eventually what was gonna probably work out for Pantera to
Yeah,
back on the
absolutely.
horse things, but fortunately not. So
No. Did you ever get to see him during that heyday? Like, did you get to experience that?
I did four. So yeah, not to gloat or nothing, but yeah,
Did,
I was lucky to you know um yeah, again, I mean, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't, again, within my very close circle of friends I grew up with that were just as die hard about it, and obviously like our parents were supportive enough to drive us to these shows. You know what I mean?
yeah, right.
You know, but yeah, I mean, there's really like there's not much that will compare to that nowadays
No.
that that I've seen shows. I mean, there is some bands out there for sure, like Meshuggah, Cannibal Corpse. Those are just two right off the top of my head I can think of that definitely can can come slightly close, but it was just like it was its own thing really at the time, but it's cool that they're doing it now. Yeah, I went to that. I saw. I actually got to see that show, that Metallica Pantera show, twice. I saw it not
Mm.
too long ago, and then I saw it a couple years ago down south. And yeah, I mean it. I sat there. I closed my eyes. I was like, dang, like, all right, I hear it. I hear it.
Yeah.
You know. Um. So yeah. So
Well, and it's cool because you had a frame of reference. Like, yeah, I can listen to it, but hearing it live, and I'm like, Charlie did it so much justice. There's no
yeah,
question. Like, those
totally.
drums were tuned to sound as close to Vinny as possible. They really were.
They were. Yep.
Oh,
Hmm.
man, you just like threw everything off. It's funny because I didn't find metal until 11th grade, and I found As I Lay Dying, and my buddy
Yeah.
made me listen to it, and I went, nah, that's too heavy for me.
Yeah.
And then I found it later that year, and I just remember hearing Jordan Mancino at the time, and I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is just, and that just blew everything off. That was Devil Wears Prada, August Burns Red, As Blood Runs Black, like really just diving into like some of that crazy stuff where you're like, what is
Yeah.
going on? And then we went to see, it's like my Haste the Day posters over here somewhere. I tried to put everything in camera and I realized none of it's in camera. um, we went to Haste the Day's farewell show back in 2011, and they played with The Chariot, Plea for Purging, and My Children, My Bride. and I had never heard of My Children, My Bride until that point. And I remember seeing Matt get up there and just my brain exploded. Like literally, I showed you this ticket before the show started. This was from 2011. This was like 4 months after that show. We drove all the way to Jacksonville from Tampa for
What
14.
what was that at?
Which one?
What venue was that show at?
State Theater for the Haste Day, My Children, My Bride in St. Pete.
That
This
yeah.
one's Murray Hill in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah.
Probably one of the best venues I've ever been to, just because it was intimate.
Yeah, no, I mean, dude, it's awesome. Like we were talking about it. Like, well, the owner, his name's Tony.
Mm.
Yeah, he was like talking about like history and stuff, and I mean, it's it's deep, it's awesome. I mean, and they just keep that place, and for considering how long it's been
Yeah.
there, they really keep that place in great condition. Yeah, I mean, everybody there. Even yeah, I mean, even next door at the little coffee shop that's like kind of part of their thing is rad. Like it was funny because I was sitting over there talking to this barista, and she was totally uneducated about how supportive 'cause it's part of the venue and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was to be honest.
It's always funny when that happens. And I remember one of the shows, it might have been the show you played. I don't know if we all went out. My Children, My Bride was playing at Crowbar, tiny little venue, which I think is where we actually met.
Yeah, in Tampa.
And we went over to Game Time and like had food, and there's like kids running by. I was like, nobody knows who you guys are, and that just upsets me. Like how, you know, influential this band has been that pushed me. I found Impending Doom because of My Children, My Bride. Like that was where that connection was. Demon Hunter's always been on the list. Gosh, I think that was the Scream the Prayer tour is the one that we had to leave, and that's really going right back where we had the Great Commission play, and that was a band that was amazing that just disappeared. That was disheartening.
Yeah.
But, but I could talk about that all day. There's a box back here where that ticket stub is, and it's literally our concert tickets for the last 12 years. So any
Nice.
concert ticket I have, it's in that box. So when I found this just the other day, that Murray Hill one, I went, wow, that was 14 years ago. We've come a
Yeah.
long way, and a lot has changed. Like having Derek Roddy on the show last episode, I was like, I can't believe this is even happening. Like,
That's so sick, dude. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of him. I mean, Malevolent Creation, like, dude, like,
I
what?
rem- I remember the song that did it. It was Swirling Patterns. It was on one of those like Drum Nations, and it was just. I'm like, I watched it, and then we got to see him play at Seminole Music and do a drum clinic, and I just remember being like, how is he doing that? Like, how is he moving that fast, but not moving at all? And,
Yeah.
Getting that introduction to blast beats and what everything really looked like, it's changed so much. And yet,
Well, yeah. Also for him, like, I remember specifically like when he started. Like, I first saw videos of him like doing actually like more blast. I was like, whoa, got like crazy fusion chops, and yeah. Obviously now, yeah,
yeah,
clinics.
I
So
wish he would do more. But
yeah,
we talked about it a lot, and it was so funny because he was sitting behind the drum set in the episode, and I'm like, I have to ask you to play. Like, I have to. And the beginning of the episode, when you listen to it, it's the little part of his where he does like a little solo, and he just laughs first and then goes straight into blast beats, and I'm like, that's perfect, absolutely perfect. The last thing I kind of want to touch on is everybody kind of knows this who knows you, but anybody who doesn't knows that you have another job. And yeah, I'm talking about the video that came out last year, which I absolutely love that they put out, and
yeah,
I watched it
yeah.
again. How much a part of your life is worrying about that because of you. Tell everybody what you do because I'm sure they'll be intrigued.
So, well, yeah. So, yeah, I own two UPS stores up here in Northern California, north of the Bay Area. One is in San Rafael and one is in Novato. Novato is like my hometown. That's where I grew up, which is pretty full circle for me. I mean, that was like the store that I own now in Novato was like my third job. So it's pretty cool. But really, you know, I started, working there, yeah, right out of high school. And I was working for one of my best friend's dads, and he was gracious enough to like let me go out and do shows. And I was kind of starting to, this is when I was doing hostility, and I was kind of starting to slowly get out there and do some tours and stuff. Well, then I moved to Southern California in 2009, and I just went to like 15 different UPS stores until I there. And I went there, and at first we were kind of like, trying ramping up, but it wasn't like, hey, like there's going to be some tours coming up. We don't know what's up yet. Well, the next thing you know, it hit, and I was really scared to like ask these guys at the UPS store. Like I was working at the UPS store in Manhattan Beach, and I was like really scared to ask them, like, hey, can I go out on a 7.5 week tour? And I'm gonna come back and I might need some work, but then I'm gonna leave again in another month. So I was like, okay, so I just like I quit, and then I went to the tour, came back, did another little tour, and we were supposed to have like two more tours. They were waiting, and I was like I need money, I need to work. And ironically, they called me and were like, "Hey, I'm just curious. Like, I'm not sure if you're like out touring with your band or whatever, but like we could use some work or we need some help."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Awesome." Went back in there, and then basically they were like, "Hey, like we know it seems like your music is like a big part of your life, and you're trying to build a career with it, and like we're totally supportive. Like if you're gonna go out and tour and like come home and work, like we'll work that out." And I was like, really? Like, yeah, that's like the dream right there. So yeah. So I mean, basically, I was down in LA for 10 years, and touring my butt off nonstop. And every time I was home, they'd take me back the second I got home. Right. So, so yeah. So essentially, I was, 20 years or whatever of just, pretty consistent working customer service at a UPS store. And then, yeah, um, this opportunity came up basically because my best friend's dad was like getting ready to retire, and, did your wife want to come in? And now it was like, well, yeah, I mean, that would be great. Like, how can we work this out? We worked it out, starting with just one,
Yeah.
and with the obviously the hopes that number two would be feasible and part of it. And sure enough, it was. I mean, of course, we did have to do some crazy navigating because it was like, we were set to make the transfer in 2020. We were talking about it in 20,
Mm.
and then COVID hit, and it was like, where are we going from here? And but we didn't even have any time to really think about it because we literally did not close a single day, and things were crazier than ever. And so it's just like, okay, we're just going. And eventually, we were like, okay, well, let's get back on track about the sale. And yeah, made that happen in the beginning of 21. And then we got the second store at the end of 23. And yeah, we couldn't be happier. My wife's, you know, greatest partner in my life. And now she's even more of the greatest partner, with, and, uh, and so, yeah, we couldn't be happier with that. And yeah, so, I mean, thankfully, I got, some really good staff. And, so I'm able to step away, and the store is still handled well. And so yeah, I mean, I'm still in the stores all the time. Every week I'm definitely I'm putting in my time in there, and But when I'm need to go off and do shows or tours or whatever, I'm thankful that I can kind of navigate that. So that's cool.
Makes me never want to use FedEx again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, the UPS stores. The thing is, that's kind of the whole thing is like, we're always just setting standard or the highest bar for customer service. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
and uh, I don't know. I mean, they just, you know, when it comes to a retail place, it's like, you don't really get much better service than a place like a store. That's really just what I've observed as a a consumer, and I know a lot of people would agree with me. FedEx, yeah, I mean that's the thing is it could get that way. It's just I don't know. There's something about just I don't know. I think the way the the uh, the foundation was set for the UPS store. Well, originally mailboxes, etc.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so that's just really kind of the ground rule or the ground built about that. It kind of keeps going like that. I mean, of course, everything's gotten crazier as far as like navigating, with just really just, you know, the general public, the way that, people.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I've watched obviously a lot of changes, and the biggest one being, Amazon and the returning world. I mean, that's just a crazy crazy beast that I never thought would be where it is now. But yeah, we've got a handle on it like none other. I
Yeah.
think compared to any other place that handles returning. Yeah. So, anyways, I mean, I could go on forever about that. Just like yeah,
There's a reason I brought that up
yeah,
because when I saw that video, like I had known about the UPS stuff, but I remember watching the video and I watched it again to just say, and I'm going to link it in the description so that people can see this too. Because you talked about being in a metal band while explaining being an owner of a UPS store.
yeah,
And I love the passion that you bring to both. You
yeah,
have passion, you have enough for all the music you do, family life, and work, and still am able to do everything you love to do. So I think that speaks to who you are, but where you've set yourself up and where you've put yourself and the opportunity that they gave you all those years ago that you just ran with.
yeah,
So,
yeah. No, yeah, I'm eternally thankful and grateful, to be able to do both. Really, I mean, um, there is no hiding that living in California is very difficult. And I'm just again I'm thankful that I've had that so that I don't have to live in my mom's place, and yeah, it's just yeah, it's I hope to pass it on someday to somebody else as well too.
I love that.
You
I will
know, and
end, I will end
so
with this. The Impending Doom, we talked about it at the beginning, the news about the album. Do we have I didn't read anything about it because I wanted to hear it from you. I was like, no, this is the same day we're doing the show. I said there's no way I can when can we expect it and what can we expect? Because you said we're not going to be disappointed, but what else
um,
are you allowed to tell?
I mean, I'd have to say just yeah, patience has really got to be a key hold right now. Just because again, it is the full thing. There's no 3-4 song. I mean, it's going to be anywhere between probably 10, 12 songs. Uh, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be everything that everybody's gonna really want and expect from the band for sure. There'll be a couple twists and turns, but um, the main thing is just want to make it sound awesome and heavy and huge as possible. And yeah, it's time for the fans to get that big chunk. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, yeah. I mean, Yeah, I'm sure at some point next year. I don't think it's going to take much longer than that.
Dude, I'm definitely looking forward to it. Like I said, there will be violence, like, the things that Murderer, like the songs that just come to mind where I'm just like, they just punch you in the face.
Yeah.
And I know I'm the deep cuts, and then you have things like My Light Unseen and like, the stuff you did with, the Demon Hunter stuff that got in there. I cannot wait for this. It's been 7 years. I know you guys have been giving us little tidbits here and there. And I know you had the Exile, or it was the Live in, was it Live in Exile? Am I going crazy here?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so we've got new stuff coming. I'm so excited for it, and I just want to thank you, man. Like
Oh,
we,
thank you, dude.
I got to see you. Here we are. 8 years later. I think we are 7 or 8 years later, getting to talk about this, and I'm just so excited to see what you've been able to do, and that you're continuing to do it with the same amount of passion, if not more, than when
Yeah.
I got to see you. Because I know those "My Children, My Bride" songs were not easy to play. I know
Oh,
that.
yeah. I mean, yeah, Unbreakable front to back. That was, yeah.
My gosh.
That had some stress on me, most definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, these people that I, surround myself with, in bands that I've been play with and stuff, positive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't
it's
get a better group of people. You really can't.
it feels good in the soul. I feel it.
Yeah. And I,
So
I think that's the perfect place to end it. So, Andrew, thank you so much. I
thanks,
really
Matt.
appreciate you coming on. Like I said, everyone, DrumQuig podcast, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's me and Dad. You never know who's going to show up for the show, but tonight was a
Yep.
little bit later, so I knew it was just going to be me. Thank you, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate you, and hang around a few minutes afterwards, and we'll get everything wrapped up, man.
Awesome.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed the show, please like, share, and subscribe to the DrumQuig podcast. Thank you so much.